Hello everyone, this is update for March 1, 2024, day 737 of the war, end of the date update. Also catch up for February 29 and 28th. So I'm just going to start with general strategic updates as I always do, and then I'm going to switch to the situation on the battlefield. First, I'm going to start with Moldova. I mentioned this in the previous video. So the I would say so-called parliament of Transnistria, they basically made the pleading to the Russian president to save them and so on. So this is, typical approach to that's being used by Russia to, let's say, invade and annex territories. Additional sort of brewing problem in Moldova is there is a region in the south, Gagauzia. This is basically what this is Turkish people who switched to Orthodox religion from Muslim. They have their own region in the south of Moldova, and so the representatives or leaders of that region, they went to Moscow to meet with Russian president. Again, this is another leverage to stir up basically situation in Moldova. Then there's another news. This is a decree of Russian president who is calling up all of the, not all of the, but military personnel who already served in the army, basically who has experience for regular annual military training. The important part of this, that this could be just regular military training, just for a couple of weeks, for a month, and so on. But it could be also stealth mobilization. So what it is, we don't know. But it's very clear that this could be tool that's being used for stealth mobilization. There's also, I want to highlight, there are item 2 and 3 here. They are classified. So again, as I said, this could be pretty sort of negative sign. Now I'm going to switch to the situation on the battlefield in Ukraine, and I'm going to do a walkthrough in a clockwise fashion, starting from very north. So the situation along the state border remains more or less the same. Nothing special there, no imminent Russian invasion or anything of that nature. Now let's move to the situation on the North Luhansk front line. So things here are a little bit sort of quieter, probably temporarily. The whole logic is unclear, but the general impression is that Russian command stopped attacking everywhere and decided to focus on a couple of narrow section of the front line to achieve penetrations there, which is pretty logical approach, generally speaking. And given that this whole North Luhansk front line is strategic dead end for both Ukraine and Russia, it's not surprised that Russian activity has been reduced here. But this is just obviously hypothetical thinking, could change on the whim, everything. The only area where there was some pressure around this village Terne, but beyond that it's fairly quiet. Now let's move to the North Donbass front line. So the northern sector is somewhat quiet. The only activity is against village Bilogorivka, where there were some fairly strong Russian pressure. It's fairly unclear what's the point here, because it's again sort of dead end. Nevertheless, Russian troops managed to advance a couple hundred meters into the village of Bilogorivka. But again, nothing truly major, nothing earth-shattering here is happening. Let's move a little bit to the south. This is really catch up here, where I'm showing the advance of Russian troops. But the key point is that strong Russian pressure continues in this area, straight west of Bakhmut and southwest of Bakhmut. And Russian troops are in process of capturing this village Ivanivsky. They actually already control, I would say, more than half, probably like 60% of the village. So it's probably a question of 2, 3, 5 days, maybe a week, before the village is going to be under Russian control. What this does, it opens up pass towards Konstantinivka, essentially, because that's really next big goal. Immediate goal is Chasiv Yar here, small town, but the bigger goal is Konstantinivka here. This is where and then also Slowdown, so basically, and Kramatorsk. So this kind of like bunch of towns here that are close to each other. That's the next big goal in this area. So going back to what I mentioned, that Russian command seems to be focusing on couple narrower sections of the front line. So this area straight west of Bakhmut is being one of those. Now let's move to central Donbass front line, where things are going not well for Ukrainian forces, for Ukrainian side. So you can see Russian troops essentially advance significantly towards in the western direction from Avdiivka. Effectively, it's Ukrainian front line here is close to collapse. So far, Russian troops stopped for a couple of past days. And let's look here. So they captured this village Orlivka, Berdychi. This were supposed to be sort of backbone of Ukrainian defenses, and also village Tonenke. So let me just go back and kind of explain. So initially, the sort of first stopping line would be this coking plant, Lastachkine, and then Pivnichne. This first line was lost right away without even anything. Then the second line supposed to be actually this Tonenke, Orlivka, Berdychi. That fell through as well. So essentially right now, Russian troops moving past that. There are sort of temporary setbacks for Russian side because it's not very well visible, but there is basically like line of streams and ponds here, like basically from this area all the way to Berdychi, and also a little bit here around Tonenke. So this really kind of blocks the wide passage, and essentially it creates open gap north of Berdychi and then south of Orlivka here, and there's a small passage here and here. So this kind of like a little bit blocking Russian troops and probably temporarily stopping them. But it's more likely than not it's just a temporary stop for Russian side. Unfortunately for Ukrainian side. Then Russian troops managed to get into outskirts, into southeastern corner of Krasnogorivka, this town. But then they were pushed out by counterattack of the 3rd Brigade. So so what happens is the 3rd Brigade, it looks like it's playing a role of fire team on this whole section of the front line. This actually reminds how it used to be in 1944 in German army, where the either tank divisions or OSS divisions were playing a role of firefighters on the basically all fronts, but most important, the Eastern Front. So this is very similar situation, unfortunately, where essentially this 3rd Brigade is playing the same role, because it's more it is larger, so it's the same kind of the analogies are pretty much they're starting actually, because the 3rd Brigade is also larger than most Ukrainian brigades. It's essentially a division. It's more motivated, better equipped, and so on. So it's exactly similar how it used to be in German army at that time. The problem is that you cannot save the front line with a fire team. You need the rest of the units being able to withstand pressure and actually counterattack, and that's where the whole problem is. So again, this doesn't look very inspiring, even though they had this success, and even that is exactly how it used to be in 1944. The German troops, German divisions could achieve some temporary tactical successes, but strategically the German army was withdrawing. So the parallels are extremely stark and extremely similar to that time and that situation. Then going back to the situation on the front line, then there was Russian pressure towards Novomikhailivka. Russian troops are in process of capturing this small town. The advance here somewhat got stalled, so we'll see if they will have sort of fast advance the way they used to have. Then there's some weak pressure near Zolotaniva here, this village. So going back to what I said before, this is another. This whole section is another area where Russian troops are putting strong concentrated pressure. Now let's move to the situation on the Zaporizhya front line. Things here actually back to quiet. So apparently this attack against Gulyaipole was just a probing attack. Otherwise, the front line is back to quiet. Nothing is happening. Again, going back to this idea that Russian command decided to focus and concentrate on essentially two key areas. One is west of Bakhmut, and the other one is west of Donetsk, west of Avdiivka, west of Marinka. Essentially, this is calling that one big area, and then west of Bakhmut, as I stated. The rest is much quieter, and this also highlights weakness of the Russian side, because they don't have enough troops to put pressure everywhere. So they can afford only essentially two small, narrow, concentrated areas of attack. And generally speaking, in the normal circumstances, this would have turned into total disaster for anyone who is attacking in these conditions, because the direction is known, everything is known. So this is perfect situation for counterattack and actually destroying and tracking troops. But due to the organizational lack and skill lack on the Ukrainian side, Russian command can sort of employ this strategy, and it actually somewhat works. Okay, now let's move to the situation along the Dnipro River. Things here actually surprisingly quiet, probably temporarily, but for now, Russian, again, going back to this idea that Russian command is not does not have enough resources to attack everywhere. That's all for today. Thanks for watching, and until next time, bye bye.